Today we're going to do an abstract painting. We're going to do it in acrylics. You can do it in oils as well. Today I'm going to use acrylics with water, and I am using a turquoise as my first layer with a palette knife only, and I'm looking at the horizontal line which determines my 2/3. I'm planning to put a bird in front, and the reflection of the bird will be in the water, and therefore I'll keep that in mind. I'm using my turquoise paint with my palette knife. I haven't sprayed any water or anything on my canvas. My canvas is as dry as it is. The color that I use comes from the tube as it is. I have a couple of acrylics that's standing around in those the student art type of acrylics. So that's what I'm going to use now, and I plan to put the birds into oil later on. I use a spray bottle with water, and I will spray the canvas as I go, and that makes magic effects. You'll see when it starts running. The thing with the abstract painting is that you don't have to control, and you should not control what happens with your paints. The magic happens. All you need to do is take the colors that you work with and make magic. Just enjoy as you go. I am mixing other colors here just to see, to bring in the dark area. So I'm first painting the colors that is behind. If your paint runs like mine is running there, I'm putting a cloth there so that it doesn't mess the floor as much. But with acrylic, you can just wipe it off from the floor. You don't need turpentine, just water. But try and keep as neat as possible. Otherwise, you will have to work flat. I used my canvas here just to use this as a demonstration. Normally, I would work flat and really use a lot of water. With my canvas that's wet, I'm using my palette knife and just moving around. With the palette knife, you can keep your palette knife flat, meaning using the whole flat area of your palette, using horizontal lines, using vertical. Try to kind of plan it. Stay with your reference material, because if you don't know exactly what you want to paint, it becomes difficult, and then it becomes messy easily and muddy, if I can say muddy, mixing the colors on top of each other and keeping your hand all the time at the same place. You'll see how that nicely flows over the water as I sprayed it, and it starts to create its own movement. Keep in mind that the bottom part of your 2/3 will be water, so we're planning that as we paint. It takes some time to get used to the palette knife. I'm not going to use any paintbrush here. Keep your palette knife flat against the canvas so that you can use the full benefit of the palette knife. I'm adding black to the turquoise to keep my colors balanced. Just darken the turquoise so that I can work on a deeper color, and later on that will help us to bring the lighter areas out. By this stage, you'll know how to control your palette knife a little bit better, and you will start loving your texture and your technique. Using a silver grey to put in the center so that I can make sure that the background of the birds is not 100% white, so that when I do paint the white of the feathers, it will stand out against the background. Just going roughly, just add some grey areas to that. It's actually a light silver. I mixed some black and white. The paint is a little bit thicker then the turquoise that I've used just helps me to put that from my palette knife onto the canvas. You'll see later on when we work with a thinner paint, it kind of is a little bit more difficult. You can actually take it and splash it if you want to. Just move your palette knife around, horizontal, vertical. There's no right, no wrong. Just enjoy what you're doing. I've taken that grey and I added a little bit of yellow ochre to that, just to give it some browny background, which will differentiate from the light silver. And I keep the movements exactly the same, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. I've also used my spray bottle again, sprayed a little bit of water over that, and the magic just happens. I tried to see if I can start covering some of the white areas. The advantage of an abstract painting is the fact that you can actually do anything. If some of your canvas still sticks through, meaning that there's still white coming through, it's fine. That is what makes abstract so, can I say, exciting. I am using a glove to paint with acrylics because acrylics is more dangerous, if I can put in brackets, dangerous when it comes to putting it onto your clothes or your hands. It's more difficult to take that off your hands or to wash it off than oil. I've laid in most of the light areas, a little bit of the yellow ochre that I mixed with the silver. I covered my canvas at the bottom, as you can see, and also kept on spraying with the water bottle. Now I'm going back in with my turquoise, and I added a little bit of viridian green to that, just to give you that green tinge on the right hand side, which will really make the bird stand out nicely. So remember, you can only do this abstract painting without putting anything on top of it. But to make an abstract painting into an art piece, you can play with something on top of it. It could be a flower, it could be a ballerina, it could be anything that you think of. It could be a building, anything. So this is a very nice generic background that will give you a platform to work with because you've got the 2/3 horizon line. So add a little bit more greens on your right hand side. Remember that the water in front will give a reflection. Keep that in mind and do not lose your horizontal line. Start repeating the same greens on the left hand side. Don't overwork the painting. Use your palette knife and make sure that you do not make mud, because now we're working wet on wet, even though this is acrylics. Acrylics also at this stage is very wet because of the spray that we use, the water spray. Now, if you worked with oils, you take the same spray bottle and put turpentine into that. Do not thin it out, just use the turpentine as it is. So you spray your empty canvas or your clean canvas with turpentine, and then you take your oils and you put that on exactly the same as what I've showed you now. You do not have to think that you're going to use so much oil, because the oil will flow nicely on the turpentine. Let me now show you, when we zoom into this painting, what the result actually looks like. So if you really look close, you can see texture, and you also do not make out exactly what it is. You'll see there's some water that still runs from the background that makes the painting actually work nicely. Didn't cover every area. I do leave some of the areas for the other colors that's going to come through. Can you see how nice that is? And that's what the water does. So you don't have to use a lot of paint. I've added some dark areas, and now I'm going to take yellow ochre, mix the yellow ochre, and you can see that I work on the same palette all the time. If it mixes with a little bit of green, it's fine, as long as I don't make mud. So I'm using the same texture. I'm just dabbing my palette knife. This time I get more, I want to use precision, and look at the reference material, and there is certain stuff that actually caught your eye the moment you choose your subject matter. When we created this with Photoshop, there was a reason why we added the yellows and the greens and the browns and the stuff. And I want to capture that main areas. Doesn't mean that the background doesn't play a role. Of course it does. But now, as I come closer and as I get to the stage where I finish my painting, I want to work on areas that really stood out. And there's some properties of that abstract painting that caught your eye, and that's what you want to keep building on. I'm taking burnt henna with yellow ochre to make a golden color, laying it into the front area on the lowest part of my 2/3 to prepare for the water. That will make the color coming out very rich, and also looking at some of the places that is still open, meaning there is no paint on the canvas, it actually sticks out, and I want to cover that, and that will help me with my creation as it goes. The whole abstract painting is something that you can't copy exactly. We will all do exactly the same, but we will not get the same result, and that is what makes it so amazing. Now that the horizon line is defined, I'm going to take some of the blue and add the blue to the edges, and now I'm referring to my subject matter. The blue that I chose here is quite a thick paint. When I opened the tube, I found that it became cloggy, so I just added some water and I mixed it really well. But it's still a very thick paint. But it works because we're working with fat overlean, meaning the thicker paint can always go on top, and that will give me a very nice texture when this painting is dry. I'm very happy with my painting as it is. I'm going to show you from close up what the texture does and what it looks like. You can still see the watermarks running right through the painting as we worked it from the back. I've also sprayed a little bit over that. I like the water running. And the texture is just beautiful. The colors are working. It did not become mud. You can take some paint and splash it with a paintbrush over that to make spots, and you can even use a comb, a hair comb, and you can scratch some of the areas out, make shapes in that. You can do basically anything. It's very rewarding to do an abstract painting. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope that you will also be open-minded and really enjoy what you're busy with. Don't use too much colors, just stay with your subject matter.